Hi skiers, I'm Jeff from skiessentials.com. We're here today to do another 2019 ski review. This one's kind of interesting because the ski hasn't necessarily changed for 2019, but some interesting stuff happening in this category right now. So we're going to take a look at it, kind of talk about its construction, where it fits into this kind of world of all mountain skis that we've got right now. And that ski is the Volkl Kendo. Kind of an iconic ski. Before we jump into it, a lot of fun stuff going on at Ski Essentials right now. All of our 2019 skis are starting to roll in. These guys just showed up in the warehouse the other day, so we're doing this video to kind of highlight the Kendo. But you're going to see lots and lots and lots of 2019 skis showing up. Most of them are already on Ski Essentials, so take a look at that if you're interested in a 2019 ski. One that we've been talking about, maybe one that we haven't been talking about. We also, all of our 2019 ski test results are up. If you haven't seen that, definitely take a look at that. There's about 150 different skis in there, so lots of information. The Kendo's in there, the Kanjo's in there, the M5 Mantra's in there, the Confession is in there, which we don't have on this wall right now. But tons of information in that 2019 ski test results. And as always, subscribe to us on YouTube if you want to get these videos as soon as they're out. And I also would invite you and encourage you to sign up for our newsletter. And you can do that on the top of any skiessentials.com page. There's a little field to enter your email address. Basically, all you'll get is kind of announcements or reminders of sales every once in a while. You'll get the weekly Top 5 Fridays news article. And then usually you'll get a gear review, maybe not every week, but you'll often get a gear review newsletter as well. So with that said, let's jump right into the Kendo. I think most people are familiar with this line. This is kind of Volkl's All Mountain collection, although the RTM series they kind of also call All Mountain. So we'll accept that we can call this All Mountain Free Ride. I'm okay with that. So in this collection we have the Kanjo, the Kendo here that we're going to focus on, and the M5 Mantra. There's also the Confession, which I mentioned just a moment ago. The Confession gets up well over 100 underfoot. While it is, if you look in the catalog, it is part of this series. I left it out of this video because it's a little bit of a different animal. You're starting to get into more of a kind of free ride specific ski with the Confession. But let's look at these three skis right here. You'll notice that Volkl has kind of updated the graphics on them. So they all share kind of the same theme of graphics, which is really cool. What is interesting, however, is that they do not share construction. So this is the first time that we've done a Kendo video review, but you'll find a Kanjo review, and you'll also find a M5 Mantra review. So you can learn a lot about those two construction types and kind of how those two skis react. But essentially over here, the newest version of Volkl's construction, Titanal frame, you're kind of getting metal along the edges of the ski. In person, you can actually see that they're raised portions where the metal is. There is a full sheet of metal along the base too, but essentially metal along the edges for Titanal frame. Kanjo then is just metal in the middle. That's Titanal band, excuse me. And they also use that same construction in the Confession. So wood core and a strip of metal through the middle. And same kind of thing in person, you can pretty much see it. And it's very interesting. Well, one ski metal along the edges, one ski metal in the middle. If you have any questions about how that creates different feels, let us know, because it is a little different. And then we have the Kendo. The Kendo, among this group, it's, I'd say, the most traditional construction. The Kendo has not changed structurally, so design, shape, or construction, since 2016. So you might be thinking to yourself, well, this is silly. Why are we doing a review of a ski that hasn't changed in 4 years? We wanted to do it because it's where it once was kind of swimming in a sea of a bunch of skis that were kind of the same. It's now really starting to offer a different package, different performance, different overall feel. A lot of our reviews recently, I'm sure you can think of some, we talk about really innovative new construction techniques. Just last week we were looking at the QST92 from Solomon with the CFX superfiber, the flax and the carbon woven together. The Kendo definitely kind of sits in that same category of skis as the QST92, but you're getting a very traditional construction, which for some people is kind of what they're after. So let's talk about construction of the Kendo. It's a multi-layer wood core, which we see Volkl using that same multi-layer wood core in a lot of their skis. And then the Kendo is sandwiched, that wood core is sandwiched between two full sheets of metal. So no Titanal frame, no Titanal band, two full sheets of metal in the Kendo. So that does add some weight. It's definitely the heaviest construction out of these three skis. But weight is not always a bad thing, and we'll get to that when we talk about performance. Let's talk about shape of the Kendo. So it's 90 millimeters underfoot, which definitely positions it in a popular category right now. And it's a rocker camber rocker ski. So I'm going to do a close-up of this so you can see it a little easier. But when you're not decambering the ski, it's really mostly camber. The rocker, especially in the tail, is pretty subtle. You can see it in the tip, but again, it's pretty subtle. When you do decamber it, it starts to get a little longer. So I've got the ski fully decambered here, and really the rocker starts pretty far back, about there. What's interesting about the rocker on the Kendo is it's very low rise. So it's very subtle, which is nice on a ski like the Kendo because it's retaining long edge contact, which definitely helps. Kind of helps in meet its goals, or kind of meet the idea, the theme of the Kendo, which we're going to get to with construction. This is the 177, and the 177, let me double check because it is a decimal, it's a 20.8 meter turn radius. So not super short. Definitely we're seeing a lot of skis. I would say most skis in this waist width category have a smaller turn radius right now. So on the longer end, it's not like GS ski, it's not like a 27 meter turn radius, but kind of on the longer side of turn radius. So two sheets of wood, two full sheets of metal, wood core, mostly camber, but a little bit of tip and tail rocker, and you do get a little bit of early taper in the tip too, not a substantial amount, but it is there. So let's talk about performance. Like I said, the Kendo is not the lightest ski in the world. Just having a pair in my hand right now, it's pretty hefty. There's definitely some weight to it. And what does that do to performance? So with a lot of these new construction techniques, you'll hear us talk about how good the vibration damping is considering how light it is, how stable a ski is considering how light it is. All of those skis are really, really cool, and manufacturers are doing some really cool stuff with construction right now. Nothing really can compete against two full sheets of metal when you're talking about vibration damping and stability. So while this is a heavier ski than kind of a lot of the skis it's competing against, you get that kind of upper echelon level of stability and tremendous vibration damping. So on a groomer, I think it's kind of got two personalities on a groomer. One personality is, and this is one of my favorite things about the Kendo, is it's practically like a wide race ski for construction, and even that turn radius when you're up over 20 meters turn radius, it really kind of feels like a wide GS ski, and you can hold an edge through a carving turn like you would on a GS ski pretty much just as well. I would say a GS ski, a true race ski, has a preference to really hold its edge all the way through a turn. Definitely easier to release your tail edge on the Kendo than a race ski. But when you're linking carving turns, in the article I was saying kind of railroad track style carving turns. So you look back up the mountain, all you see is railroad tracks of your turns. It does that really, really well, and it's definitely, in my opinion, a medium to longer radius turn. Something that I mentioned in the written portion of the article, because it's heavy, because it's fairly stiff, it's kind of tough to get the Kendo to flex more and manipulate it into a smaller carving turn radius. Something I said in the written portion, you kind of have to ski like Ted Ligety to get it to do that. So huge high edge angle and really putting a lot of power into the ski. You can get it to flex and make a smaller radius carving turn, but for the most part, you're going to get medium to larger turn shapes. Now that said, going back to it's relatively easy to release the tail edge. For a ski that hits this level of performance, has this much power and this much vibration damping, it really is. I would say it requires a certain level of ability and some pretty good technique to get it to happen. But if you've got good skiing technique, something that's really fun to do on the kendo is get the tail edge to kind of partially release or slarve a turn. And you can make really, really rhythmic kind of half skidded, half carving turns on it, which I think is a tool that a lot of skiers use in steeper terrain, kind of more challenging trails, more challenging terrain. Definitely can do that. So on groomers, you kind of have this, either you're riding the edge of the ski and really making railroad track turns, or you can get it to skid and smear into smaller turns. Again, kind of takes good technique to get it to do that. But if you're of that upper intermediate, really advanced to expert, but an athletic upper level intermediate could ski the kendo too. Now off-piste, we always say this, but a ski of this waist width, we're expecting some all-mountain performance. So off-piste, kind of two different personalities for the kendo. We'll call it like tight terrain versus open terrain. In tight terrain, I would say that's probably, depending on your skiing style, that might be the toughest place to ski the kendo. There are definitely people out there that love skiing the kendo in moguls and trees, but I'll emphasize again that if you're going to do that, you should have some pretty good technique and then be of a certain ability level. Otherwise, you're kind of just fighting a heavy ski. But somebody with that technique that's been skiing for a while, they'll have a lot of fun on the kendo because you can kind of play around with that, again, releasing the tail edge, kind of smearing and slarving the ski. You're not, when you're in the woods and you're in the trees, you're not really like riding an edge ever. You're not just kind of pointing it. It's always some manipulation of how much you're releasing the tail edge. So it'll do that. It'll absolutely ski trees. It'll absolutely ski moguls. But if you're a less aggressive skier, if you're more of the intermediate ability level, something lighter, maybe something with more tip and tail rocker might be better. But for some skiers, this is what they want. And then let's talk about open terrain. I think that's another kind of area where the kendo excels. And that's kind of where this construction and the stability and the vibration damping comes in again. So say you're at Breckenridge and it snowed a foot last night. Right around 11 o'clock in the morning, this thing is going to be pretty much what you want to be skiing. Say like you're taking some big high-speed turns through Horseshoe Bowl, which is one of my favorite places to ski if I'm at Breck. Awesome ski. Stays really damp, stays really composed. Because of that extra weight, this is kind of the area where that weight really comes into play as a benefit. A ski with this weight and this vibration damping and stability, it picks up a lot of momentum. And if you're a balanced, accomplished skier, you really can kind of let the ski do a lot of the work. Skiers that ski like that they want to ski that they can just take and charge through choppy terrain, don't get a length too short, because if you're sizing down too much, you might start to get a little bit of tip deflection. But really, like, charging through choppy snow, in my opinion, it doesn't get too much better than the kendo in terms of overall feel and performance and how it does that. I think you could make the argument that a wider ski wouldn't get bogged down as much if the snow was still kind of deep, but the kendo can definitely handle some soft snow conditions, even some deeper snow conditions. And actually, going back to tight terrain, something I mentioned in the article, I think this is going to sound silly, because I think you could say this about any ski, but the better the snow conditions are, the easier it is to ski the kendo. So if you're in trees and it's like firm, kind of chunky, weird, maybe it like went above freezing and then froze and the snow is just kind of weird, that's where it can be a little bit of a handful, a little bit grabby, and you want some solid technique. If there's a fresh 6 inches of powder, things just butter. Really, really easy to kind of maneuver it and get it to smear and slip around. It's kind of that variable snow in tight terrain where it can require a certain ability level, is kind of what I keep coming back to. So that's the Volkl Kendo. Like I said, it's unchanged for 2019. We have some of the 2017 version and the 2018 graphic. Again, those skis are the same, they just have different top sheet graphics, so you can save a little bit of money and get the same performance if you're interested in the Kendo. And to be honest, it's a hugely iconic ski, and it's kind of cool that Volkl retained this 2 full sheets of metal construction and it's still an option within the line. So yeah, it's just interesting. You know, you got the Kenjo, and then you've got the Kendo, and then you've got the Mantra. And they're all slightly different with their construction and the waist width, and it all really makes sense when you start to think about the intended use of each one of these 3 skis. And if you have any questions about specifically what I think the intended use about each one of these 3 skis is, leave a comment. You could go back and watch the Kanjo review or the M5 Mantra review too, and probably get a pretty good sense of my thoughts. But as always, don't hesitate to leave us a comment, whether it's comparing the Kendo to other skis on the market or comparing these 3 constructions or whatever you want. Gear for skiers, by skiers, we're always here to answer questions about skis. So yeah, 2019 Kendo. We're going to continue to roll out more 2019 gear reviews. We've got an exciting new YouTube set to share with you soon, which is behind the camera. I am looking at it, you are not. But that's going to be pretty exciting. Hopefully we'll be ready to unveil that next week, definitely within the coming weeks. So keep an eye out for that, and we will see you on the slopes.